This is the video for Chapter 1, Lesson 5. It's called Algebraic Expressions. We're going to start off with two vocab words. This is on your note packet. The first term is algebraic expression. This is a mathematical phrase that includes numbers, variables, and operations, but it has no equal sign. Be sure to make note that these do not have equal signs. As soon as we add an equal sign into an expression, it becomes an equation, which is something that we're going to learn about in Chapter 6. The next word is evaluate. Evaluate is a word that's used a lot in math. For us in this chapter, we're going to use it as to simplify an expression using substitution. And we only use this word with expressions, not equations. We solve equations, we evaluate expressions. First problem that we want to take a look at here is to evaluate the expression 2 times the quantity of n plus 3 if n is equal to 4. This is number 1 in your note packet, so you can follow along with this. First thing we want to do is we want to take our 4 and we want to substitute it in for n. So it's going to be 2 times the quantity of 4 plus 3. And remember, we're going to follow our order of operations. The first thing we'll do is we will evaluate the parentheses. 4 plus 3 is 7. I want to keep my number in parentheses because take a look at what's going on here. 2 next to the parentheses. That means 2 times whatever we get when we solve the parentheses. So if we keep the number inside the parentheses, it reminds us that we have to still multiply them together. So 2 times 7 is 14. Final answer for number 1 is 14. Let's take a look at one that's a little bit harder. So this problem is number 3 from your note packet. It says evaluate 2d squared minus 5d when d equals -3. I'm going to give you a big hint here. I always substitute my negative numbers into my problems inside parentheses. That's just to keep the negative sign safe in it so I don't start thinking that it's a minus sign. So this is going to look like this. 2, now I have to put a -3 in for d. So I put my parentheses, -3. The exponent goes outside the parentheses. Okay, so I put the -3 in for that variable. The variable is being squared. Now I'm going to subtract 5 times d. Again, I'm going to put my -3 inside parentheses. Now I have an expression that I know you can simplify very easily. We are going to start with parentheses. Inside the parentheses, I have exactly one number, so there's nothing I can simplify. So now I go to my second step, which is exponents. -3 squared, the parentheses come before the 2, so that tells me I'm taking -3 times -3, which is +9. I'm going to keep my 9 in the parentheses, remember, because of the 2 being outside of them. And 5 times -3 is -15. Just be careful with these. Notice I brought my minus sign down and then I multiplied. We end up with minus and negative here. That's perfectly fine. We know how to handle that. Before we can do our subtraction, we have to multiply. 2 times 9 is 18. So we get 18 minus -15. And when we go to finish this problem off, we read a minus, a negative, so it tells me to add a line and change the sign. And now I get +33. This problem can be tricky because of the negatives. So like I said, my big hint to you is to take that -3 and when you substitute it, put it inside parentheses. It'll kind of keep your negative sign safe. Our last problem that we're going to look at is number 5, and number 6 kind of ties into number 5, so we'll do them together. It says Marisa wants to buy a Bluetooth DVD player that costs $150. She already saved $25 and plans to save an additional $10 each week. Write an expression that represents the total amount of money Marisa will have after W weeks. So I'm writing an expression to see how much money she has. That tells me that right now, that 150 is not part of what she has. She has 25, that's what she starts off with. And then she has this plan that as every week goes by, she's going to save an additional $10. So additional tells me that I'm going to be adding $10 excuse me, every week. So that means that as 1 week goes by, I'm adding 10. As 2 weeks go by, I add 20. 3 weeks, 30. 4 weeks, 40. So that tells me that I'm multiplying the 10 by this variable, W, which is going to represent our weeks. So the expression that we are going to write to represent the amount of money Marisa has after W weeks is 25 plus 10W. 25 is what she starts out with, plus $10 times every week that goes by. We can use that expression to solve number 6. Number 6 says, will Marisa have enough money after 11 weeks? Use your expression to find out. So that tells me that I'm going to start with my expression, 25 plus 10W, and I'm going to take that 11 and I'm going to substitute it in for W. I'm going to substitute that right there. So that gets me 25 plus 10 times 11. When a number is next to a variable, that means that we are multiplying. So, order of operations, we're going to multiply first. 10 times 11 is 110. 110 plus 25 is going to be $135, which tells me that after 11 weeks, Marisa does not have enough money for the Bluetooth DVD player. She'll have to keep saving for a couple more weeks. Expressions are a really big part of algebra. This really is algebra stuff right now. So let's focus on how to write these expressions and how to do it, how to use them to solve problems. You're going to see some of these examples in our notes that you're going to work on tonight. So here's your assignment. You're going to complete questions 2, 4, 7, and 8 in your 5.1 notes. Number 8 is the write your own problem, and I want to remind you to make it a word problem. Let's do one where we have to write the expression from a word problem. That's really important for me to see. Don't forget to do your Google form for 5.1. And don't forget, we are in the heart of algebra right now. This is algebra. So this is really important that we start strong so we can continue to use everything we've learned for chapter 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.